Nice to have you here. So welcome to our first Q&A. So I'm happy that we can have the chance to be in the ARRI studio here with an amazing background and I think the best webcam that you can have on the market in the moment, Alexa 35. So it's really impressive. And first of all, I would congratulate Curt for his technical achievement Oscar winning 2 days ago. So,
which is good. And for us, I would say that Artemis and Trinity have been recognized by Hollywood as a good technology and especially as a creative tool, because the Oscar is not about technology. The Oscar is about how the technology is changing the creative way of telling the story. And I think our job as operators and camera operators and Trinity operators and Artemis operators is to elevate the storytelling. And I think the Oscar is also something good to have, to make sure that you can tell the producer that it doesn't make any sense to lower the daily rate, because we're going to bring some Oscar-winning equipment to your set. So I think the Oscar is good for all of us, and I think we all worked for the Oscar.
But it's a special well deserved for you.
That's sure, but again, there is a team. There's a lot of people involved, so we share the Oscar. Also with Dr. Folty, the guy who designed with me together the Trinity head and the software. So we really made sure that the Oscar is not only for ARRI and for me, it's really for the team and for you operators, of course.
So that question, it's there a live stream for the Oscars, for the technical achievement?
I think so, because they ask us to sign a paper that we are okay to be recorded.
Okay, so that's good to know. So I will share when I find out the link and everything. So I will share it in the CCS forum. So everybody will watch me, definitely.
Me too. I watch it too from the other side. Now, everyone is really excited, I have to say, because we didn't expect the Oscar in a way, because the Oscars postponed everything. So first, as I remember, the actors, Oscar was already moved like 2 weeks or something, and then a kind of a news that said technical Oscar is going to be postponed whenever. So there was no idea that they're out of the blue announcing the winners. So for me, for everyone, it was kind of, what the hell? Unbelievable. So everyone is very happy. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. That's the reason I look like 10 years older, because we had some party with the team. And we are very proud and happy. And also we are very inspired to go ahead and try to do even better things in the next 10 years before I retire.
And I think it's for all us Trinity customers a really good stand for the production. So we have now our Oscar-winning tool. So that makes maybe a little bit easier for us in the future to sell our devices to the productions. So
and just like, if they try to lower the daily rate, you say, wait a minute, here's the red Oscar line. You can't go below this amount of money per day. And you deserved it, you operators, because don't forget, I and the team, we can design whatever. If you don't use it, and you can't even inspire directors to go another step further in going even more crazy storytelling. Because again, what they're asking for is movies and examples to prove that the storytelling was elevated. So without all the trust of you operators into our products, this would never happen, because the product itself doesn't count at all for the Oscar or Academy. They really look for the storytelling and how to elevate the film business through technology, of course. But it's not a price, of course, the price for technology, but there's another element, which is the creative element. And this goes back to you operators. Thank you. Next. Good timing. All right.
So if you have any questions, so today we're talking about Artemis Live. So that's I think, similar to the Artemis 2, but a little bit different. So
yeah, because also we can also call it the Artemis Lite, because this was a part of the concept to create the shortest Steadicam ever beams on the market. And of course, we also wanted to have for you a way to, let's say, downgrade your Trinity to a lightweight stabilizer, or to offer a Steadicam for a reasonable price. So we also try to lower the weight, to lower the length, and of course to lower the price. Which also brings, of course, to the first question I assume is what is the difference? And the difference is very, very simple. On a regular Artemis and a regular Trinity, we have the so-called battery mounting system, which is a very heavy device, by the way, and a very powerful battery management, which you really need, especially for the Trinity. Because don't forget, in the Trinity, we have to keep, let's say, all kinds of camera happy. Plus, we have to have enough power to do very, very fast rolls and other movements. And for this, of course, we designed a very powerful, what I call powerhouse, which is combining the power of up to 3 batteries to reach more than 20 amps if needed. But on the other hand, if I go to a regular Artemis use case, I may not need all the power because I only have to keep the camera happy and some accessories. So technically, most of the time, a single battery is able to do this. So we said, okay, a good way to get it lighter and shorter and less expensive, we just removed the entire battery housing. In details, you can see the slight difference also very well in the tech talk, which you find on the Artemis Live webpage, because here I can go really into detail. Maybe we can go there a bit. So technically, as you can see down here, there is no battery management on the first view. Again, you see all this better in detail in the tech talk. So what we did here is we just replaced the battery hanger with just a bracket, which is holding 90 millimeter rods, which is hosting a little box, and we have 3 different boxes. And these 3 little boxes allows us to manage the batteries in 3 different ways. You have choice number 1. We do 2 times 12 volt batteries hot swapped, which is good for television. Second, classic, we have 2 times 12 volt batteries, which then do 12 and 24 volt. Also a very classic way to operate. And in district, for example, is running on a box which is using B-mount 24 volt batteries and the 12 volt D-tap, which goes also into the box only to feed the monitor at the front. So using these little boxes allows you to run up to 2 batteries maximum, which is enough for the most, let's say, work situations. Because again, the idea is to have a very short, very lightweight and agile rig.
What's the weight what you reduced on the top?
Oh, that's a tricky question, of course.
I think that's, I would say, yeah.
So this is easily 1.5
1.5, definitely.
1.5 kilos right away. The reason why this is kind of heavy, as we designed the Trinity, I wanted that this centerpiece is nearly 900 grams because this is exactly the weight of a bigger battery. And I wanted in the Trinity to have the weight of a versatile battery right in the center of the Trinity to get it as neutral as we are able now to balance it. But again, this is extra way to make Trinity happy, which we may not need in a Steadicam-ish application. So the other thing we did also to get the rig shorter, we had to lower the weight of the monitor. And to do so, we removed the classic monitor bracket, which is clamped on the post, and we moved the monitor also onto the 90 millimeter rods. That means the monitor is as low as possible. You can provide as much counterweight as possible because it's that low. And we saved a little weight.
And you get a really nice balance. So I tried 2-3 weeks ago. What I recognize also that the position of the monitor is so great now. So you have absolute clearance with your arm. Also with the shorter post. So that's really amazing. Makes a lot of fun to operate, definitely.
And what is also even for me quite interesting after so many years operating and designing Steadicams is because you can get this rig so short, you feel that the inertia comes not from the vertical axis anymore. Most of the inertia now comes from the horizontal axis. That means now the camera is producing the inertia we're looking for and the sled together. So this rig feels very, very calm in a way, even it's so short, because normally you would expect that the rig becomes very, very nervous.
It feels stabilized without a stabilizer.
It feels weird, I tell you. It's really worth to feel the difference, and then and the reason why we could get that short was again, because of the Trinity, we learned how to make extremely stiff and precise top stages, bottom stages, post gimbal. Everything is extremely firm. And that allows us to really reach that short length. Because, of course, normally if you shorten something, you're losing inertia. You're losing, theoretically, stability. Yeah. But based on precision and precise machining, we could really go to the possible limits. What is so in physics and, let's say, inertia,
So if you have any questions, guys, so please ask or write in the chat. So Alphonse, please, you're on the mute in a moment. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Congratulations. We are so happy for what you are achieving in ARRI and Trinity and Artemis. I have actually two questions. One about Artemis, if I want to transfer the Trinity to Steadicam, instead of using the monitor on the bottom, I saw Lucas using the same monitor on the handler. Yeah, I guess maybe it's working. If yes, I continue doing this.
Yep.
And the second issue is I'm facing the Trinity. When you explain, sorry if I can allow to talk about it, when you are doing the battery balance alone and the head alone, and when you connect it together, I felt it's not, also I need to do another setup to combine the top and the bottom. Is it possible to do, if you put the camera on and we do the same balance once here, so we can adjust, or it's not gonna work in this way?
It's a tricky one. Again, the idea is you first manage the sled, then the head, and whatever's wrong must be the camera. If you put the camera in again, then you don't have a reference to each other. So the idea is you have first the sled balance in itself. That's your first reference. You don't have to touch it anymore. Then we do the tilt of the Trinity head, and then we put the camera inside the ring, and whatever is wrong must be now the camera. It's not offset battery anymore, because we put this out of our equation. And of course, in the end, if you put everything together, you may have to do a slight left and right fore and aft adjustment because of the telescope of the post. Because even every little offset have a little side or forward tolerance because of the leverage or the length of your rig. So there's always a kind of plus minus few millimeters you have to adjust.
But that's the way how I work now for 1 year nearly. So my head is now perfectly balanced inside the case. So I know I come to the set head that's balanced. So I put it out of the case. Out of the case, I just balance my rig with the skater, the sled without the head, with the batteries and all the accessories. I put the head on it, get the camera in. I just balance then the camera inside the rig, so to get the camera neutral. I know my rig, everything is my reference. So in this case, this saved me a lot of time on the set. So I need on the set, maybe the last commercial, maybe it was Alexa 55 at Cook and Morfix, 15 minutes for balancing to be ready to shoot.
But here's 2 points. First of all, I'm happy to see you. That's 3 points. Second, I think what you're asking for is worth a special talk, that we do another Zoom meeting, and we only talk about the new balance method in detail. But the third good news is we learned so much out of the balance method from the Trinity that I'm now using the same method on a Steadicam. And that's also another reason why I moved the monitor down there. Now the blue ring is accessible from all sides. And I can do exactly the same how we do it on the Trinity. That means first, with the skater. That means first I balance just the sled to make sure I fully understand the offset of the batteries. And then you put the camera on, whatever goes left and right is the camera. That shows you clearly that some of the cameras are a little bit more heavy on the right side because there's the cooling and the ventilation. Some cameras are more heavy on the left side because there's a big data storage.
Or you have 2 or 3 motors, 2 motors on the left, 1 motor on the right. So
And suddenly we're learning that we can get the very first time, even in my, let's say, experience, I can really get a perfect static imbalance because nothing is offset anymore. And that's the reason we can get it that short. Because if you make a whip pan, nothing is pulling the rig to the side because everything is perfectly in the center.
Yeah, that's why I tried to share on the group last time. When I set it, it was perfectly how we did it, the new setup. But while moving, when I put the camera horizontal, the left right of the rig is not stopping moving. I didn't know why. When you put on the tripod to test it, so it's back to central normally. But when I hold it to move, it's still moving along. Even if I want to put tilt down or tilt up, the rig is still moving left and right. That's why I think maybe I should change something, or it's probably from me or from the
it's
setup.
difficult to say. It's difficult to say when we don't know your exact setup. So it's...
Again, I think what we should do is maybe this is going to be a very long session, because that means we watch you while you build your rig, and then you watch us when we build our rig. And you know what I mean?
It will be great. That will be a cool session.
But that's a long session, so we should have some coffee and some sandwiches, and we have to take an entire afternoon. Because again, I would love to do this.
Yeah, why not? So
because don't forget, everyone got slightly different combinations. Like we did the same procedure in America, and for me, it was, to be honest, it was the first time we had only Prestons, and we had to find a way how to manage a Preston, which is a whole different story to manage a Preston against C-Force mini motors and so on. But again, I think that's another tech talk.
Yeah, okay. Because we
have the next question. Sorry, Alfonso. We have to go to the next question. So Martin has a question.
Hello, good evening, Curt. Nice to meet you again.
Servus.
Just back from shooting, so I had no time to come in time. I have just a question because of the new monitor mounting. So how it's working in a low mode? Because normal, the old bracket is really easy to turn the monitor in another position to get in low mode a good view to the monitor. And if the rig is so short, it's even more difficult to find a good position to look on the monitor. So how it works in low mode with this bracket?
Technically, we just made another bracket here, and you have a second small 5-inch down below the lens. Honestly.
So that means and it's not really a good chance to use the big one, or two?
Second? Give me a second. Alfonso, anyway, that's the good news. You can change your Trinity quickly in an Artemis because everything stays on the same platform, by the way. That means look, Martin, here everything is the same like at the old monitor brackets. I can do all the angles from the old days. It's exactly the same. The bracket didn't change. The only thing we removed is the telescopic part, but here it's the same bracket. So you open up the screws.
Yeah, I understand that the part between is missing when you can change the angle. That's the only thing which is not...
You mean this angle? Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that means, but again, technically you can make it extremely, let's say, straight all the time. Or again, we made a small bracket which goes below the lens, and you use the second monitor.
Okay, thank you very much, because the second monitor is not bad too, because in my setups, normally it's hard to get so shortly because the camera is mostly so heavy. So I need more weight in a button. So
ear rods, and still this got a quite good weight still, because look, we had a balance in the mirror, and still there's a lot of space above the gimbal. And again, you can still replace the carbon fiber against steel rods.
And also what I tried now, you have also full body as a full steel rod, so without a also you can get really nice weight with the steel rods.
Maybe also something which could be interesting if you have to change quickly a location and you want to still get your rigs small and then into a case. here there's a groove in this plate. That means once this is balanced, you can take this battery package off the top stage and you can bring it back exactly in the same position that was before. You will not lose the balance, but you can still get the rig. Because think about it, if I take off the camera, I can put this quickly in a small case and bring it to the other set.
Yeah.
Let me show you. I'll just bring it back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it. Now it's back in position. It didn't move at all.
So we have the next question is Mario. So
Hey, hi, Kurt and Leon. Congratulations on, you said you got an Oscar?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, what kind of like category would that be? Like a lot of would it be more like a cinematography, like a creative category, or is there like categories that are more like technology, or is there a future?
It's scientific and technology, but it's based on how it's scientific and technology, Oscar, but it's based not on the technology developed. It's based what we're going to do with the technology to make the storytelling a game changer.
So it's kind of like technology and creativity together in some way.
But it
And is
would,
it for
so long story
specific
short,
projects?
that means even if you would have the best spec, you will not win the Oscar. It's not about the specification. It is about what you're going to do with it.
Okay, yeah. Was this for a specific project or?
I think just for the last 20 years of developing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
It's
okay.
not a lifetime achievement, but technically for me it is because there won't be enough time in my life to make a second one. It took me 30 years to get there.
Okay, I have a second question as well. What is like the best way for like a beginner, like an aspiring AC, to get like hands-on experience with like cinema rigs or ARRI? Do you recommend any like training courses or like workshops or like mentors? Like what would be like the best way to?
Where are you based?
I'm based in Miami, in Florida.
Nice.
So maybe then we should come to your place.
Yeah, it's not a very big like hub for films, but you know, I'm obviously like open to moving. I lived in Europe for 5 years, so I'm always
Nice.
moving around a lot. So yeah.
That was good because again, I think in the moment the easiest way is just go to LA, contact Tyler, visit ARRI. They have a lovely studio there. There's enough gear to play around, and Tyler is really
I can send you the contact later.
Yep.
So
it's a very nice way. And also we have a guy we met on the workshop, which is
I sent a lot of emails to like Panavision, like ARRI, like they have a lot of like training courses or different things, but yeah, it's hard when you're not like located in like LA or like in Germany or these kind of places.
That's true. Of course, that's the same for us. But honestly, I learned even more in Los Angeles than here in Munich sometimes, but it's a different story.
No. Yeah.
It's a different place. Yeah, so I think the best is really your contact Tyler. Or if you're back in Europe, one day let us know.
Okay. Maybe I'll hit up Leon.
Because again, we have a lot, because there's another very simple way for everyone. Just go on the ARRI Academy, put your name, then we two are going to look at the names and then we find a way how we're going to set this up. This may be a ARRI workshop, this may be a CSS forum workshop, whatever fits you and us the best, time-wise and let's say location-wise, but there's a solution.
So when you go on the CSS forum website, you will find the contact of the ARRI Academy. So that's our Thaler. So you can contact him and you can get on a mailing list to know when some courses are around or...
It's not official yet, but there's something we try to prepare. The plan is when we are in Los Angeles, April 29 to pick up this little thing. And
February.
April 29. Yeah. So it's we have a little while. That's the reason we're preparing this. So we may need the other day to just sleep enough after we drank the whole night. But the following day, we for sure try to make an open house at ARRI Rental or ARRI in Los Angeles. So this will be like a barbecue. We will invite all the operators to come. And then some days later, we will do the same in New York.
Okay. Which day in New York?
We're not sure about the date. So once everything is fixed,
we'll share it on the forums.
We share it on the forum. Yeah. Because again, it's also about shifting some gear. But for sure, we're going to make a kind of after Oscar party with you because you are part of the success story. And we should have some beer and sausages.
Well, you never know. Maybe I'll meet you there. Who knows?
No, because then you also can meet Tyler. And I think amazing, good people, because I think it's going to be a good party.
Awesome.
Good.
So,
See you there.
any questions? All there. So we have also some questions here that we received via chat. So what we have here. If there are any plans for future updates or expansion of the Artemis system?
That's a very funny question, because this is the actual today, which is for me a kind of a future for minimum whatever period. Because again, the point is the Artemis itself, and this is since the first Artemis I showed in 2000. I have to think like this, but 2001 on NAB. And think about still today, some of the new parts are still fitting on the rigs we sold since 2001. That means Artemis itself is an ongoing project. It's a modular system. So there will be never a day where we have a complete new Artemis, because even Artemis 2, I can use the same components on an Artemis you bought in whatever, 2010-ish, whatever. So that's a tricky question for me. For me, this is a floating development, like what we show here, because we had the recommendation from the broadcast that they would love to have more Artemis, because in the old days, Artemis was very, very strong into broadcast. And then since I was at ARRI, we'd focus a bit more and maybe sometimes too much on the cine. And now we want to go back a bit more to broadcast. That's the reason this, let's say, modules are there, because technically in a millisecond, I can make the same Artemis more cine style, and another 15 minutes later, I can make it a Trinity. So again, there is no harsh cuts to expect it. And the same with the Trinity, by the way. There is no idea that we're going to have a new Trinity next year.
So we have a question. Ben, please.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi there.
I currently, I've only been operating like maybe 3 years, coming from a normal camera operating background, and I mainly work on football in the UK. I currently have an Ultra 2 rig, which, in my opinion, it feels like it's very over. I don't need to be carrying that much about for sport and OBs, because it's got a tilting top stage. I don't need. It's got a nose. It's got a electric nose block. I can move forward and backwards. I don't need the length of it. The power won't. I can't power many cameras with the rig because of the length of the cable and the droppage in the amps. That means I can power. The cameras are quite powerful with RF transmitters on and view back returns. And they're very power hungry. So if my rig tries to power it, it will last like 10 minutes and it's just not worth it. So I'm carrying extra batteries on the camera as well as the rig.
That's a bad time. Okay, that's not a
So this sort of thing, when I saw this on the news, I thought, oh, that sounds ideal for something. I'm carrying around far too much at the moment than I need to.
Yeah.
For what I do for job. I'm not intending on moving into any other genres. Sports and is pretty much what I'll do. So this sounds like an ideal ideal piece of equipment just for using for OBs,
And a good story is, in February 13, we are in London as BSC show, and you have 2.5 days time.
Yeah, so I was going to come on the 14th, I think. Yes, I'll be able to see it there.
Put you on the list.
Yes, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
I have to say, Artemis, in the before I joined ARRI, got a very strong relation in the UK. It was there was a lot of UK operators. They started like in 2008-ish. We became like a standard Steadicam on your soccer fields, and there's still some rigs out of that build here in use.
Yeah, I work with Alf Tremonting quite a lot.
For example, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's got an Artemis. And his brother,
and it's I tell you, pretty sure a very old Artemis, which also shows how rigid the designs are and how long they take every Sunday. Every bloody Sunday a game.
Yes. Yeah.
Jumping into your power issues, in my designs, the power consumption was always the number one aspect when I'm designing a Steadicam, and it started exactly in the day the first red came, because suddenly we understood. Wait a minute, there are cameras coming into this world which are eating so much power, like minimum 120 watts all the time. So as I said before, as I started to design the new Trinity, the very first component I designed with my team was the battery hanger. But for us, the battery power supply is key. And it's the same also on the Artemis Live, because my idle Steadicam is only using one battery, because more and more batteries you're putting there, first of all, it's getting heavy. Second, your dynamic balance becomes a kind of weight, because you have two heavy elements at the back and only monitor on the front, and then it's already kind of rubbish. So my goal is always to have, if possible, only one battery. And inside the rig, we have only a voltage drop of about 5%, while older rigs reaching easily 50% of voltage drop just through the post.
I was going to say, I dread to think what mine's dropping through the pole, you know.
When you get 10 minutes, so your voltage drop must be up to 80.
That's the most power hungry camera that you can use. A Sony P1, it powers that okay, but that's about it.
For example, also, which is not ready yet, but we hopefully have it in April on stock. Is as you can see, most of the time we're using B mounts, which I think is the best battery design in the moment in the long term. So what's going to be? This is a 24 volt mount, and soon we have also a 12 volt mount, which means you can buy in the future one battery which goes cine and television the same way. And by changing the mounts, you just tell the battery if it should run 24 volts or 12 volts.
Yeah. At the moment, I run two batteries in tandem, so you can hot swap, because obviously you don't want to lose power with the director if you can.
But also on the B mount, for example, if you're on the B board page, they have a hot swap element, which is anywhere 90 watt battery in the worst case, and then you put another 120 behind this, and you don't even have to take a charger with you anymore to the game. This will run forever. Because the good thing is, if you're stacking the battery against the hot swap element, still you only have one battery. You have only one mount. You have, in the end, one very clear amount of counterweight, which is easy to balance because it's only one weight which picking up momentum when you make a fast.
Good. Thank you very much. I'll see you.
You're welcome, and I'll see you on the 13th.
Yes, thank you.
I tell you, don't show up.
Thank you.
So we have a question from Konstantinos. Will be a collaboration with Tiffin 3-axis stabilization and post on Artemis 2, please?
You're asking the wrong company. Look, we made the Volt post. I think we showed really how open we are for Tiffin solutions. I think you should ask Tiffin. For my side, I'm fine, because again, it's your choice. How you want to operate, I will not. No. We will not limit you. We are not the limitation in this question.
So in the moment, the first company to do did something similar is now MQV to make a new gimbal with the Volt. There's a 2-inch gimbal and fits on the regular post of the Artemis. And it's working pretty well, but it's MQV, so we all know that the components sometimes a little bit difficult. But this gimbal works really, really good. So in combination with the regular post.
But again, before you try a fully 3-axis stabilized gimbal, you may try for a while a very analog rig. Because don't forget, my first career, I was a musician, and sadly, I started to teach myself on electric guitar. And the day I played the first classic guitar, I had to accept that I have to learn everything again from scratch. Because the electric guitar put me somehow in a quite interesting way, but technically the way I was playing was not very good. So I stepped back to a classic guitar just to improve my finger tips. And honestly, a fully stabilized gimbal may limit you in learning how to operate a rig. Because honestly, for me, Steadicam operating there's something what I call the millisecond. And the millisecond thing is as follow. If I'm working with actors and I'm shooting a feature, my concept to move a camera is I move first the camera and then the actor is moving in my frame. That means I'm turning the stage the actor is working in. But if this is limited by any kind of gimbal stabilization, I am always slightly behind maybe the acting, which means I'm shooting news. But I don't feel myself as a news shooter. I feel myself as an operator on a film set. So for me, and that's also the reason why Trinity doesn't have a stabilized gimbal, is I want you as an operator to have the full control about the timing when you think I should move the stage.
So
So think about it.
the next question is from Sai from India. Sai, hi.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
I hope.
I'm from India.
Hello,
Nice.
good to see you.
Congratulations from my side. We are from India.
Thank
for
you.
winning Oscar. So I
Thank you,
have a question for you. Is there any meet in India to ensure the ARRI product? And basically, I was a beginner, which I want to eagerly waiting to use the ARRI product. So is there any narration or guidance from your side? Where to study and where to get that information?
Again, the easiest way to first get the contact is you go to the ARRI webpage, to the ARRI Academy. So we
Yes,
have
yes. Recently, I have visited the ARRI house, but
So you mean more technical or reseller?
yes.
or-
the reseller for India. That's a good question. I think this is maybe you asked me a question. Simeon.
Yeah.
Simeon.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, here's the story. You can also contact me in Munich, and let me say, you send me your ideas, what you're looking for, and we put this together. So you and I are safe, and then we look for someone who's taking care about, let's say, how to buy it and ship it. But you and I, or one of our
Can I
team,
ask you another question if you don't mind?
or you just type it in the chat, so we have it.
So,
You can check to type your contact and everything.
So we can connect you or I go with you for your question. No problem.
what was your best camera behind ARRI Mini LF or 35? What was your
Best camera, ARRI camera I wrecked in my life with?
Yeah.
It's 235. And
35 or Mini LF?
I'm coming from the film days. For me, it's still the best ARRI camera. It's the 235, the ARRI Studio, or honestly, the movie cam compact. On a Steadicam, that feels lovely. And it makes a lovely noise. And honestly, what I really like to fly is this. I like to fly the Amira. I like the length. I like the low center of gravity. It's a very nice camera. It got a good weight, and it's a very friendly camera to fly.
So, but again,
Thank
if
you.
you have questions, just type in the chat so we can contact you. So the next question. Let's check. Hi, with Artemis Live, what are you losing by not having the battery hanger module, especially for more cine-style setups? Or what's the disadvantage of using Artemis Live on a feature drama set?
Depends on the camera, honestly. Because again, if let's say we have a regular digital camera, you don't lose anything. But let's say, for example, if you want to fly a 435 in high speed, you may need the bigger battery hanger, because when you go high speed on a film camera, the batteries have to deliver up to 12 amps, and the light white sled, or not the sled, it's not the issue. The battery is the limitation. But let's say on all the ARRI digital cameras, there is no backslide. But again, depends on what also Martin said. If you have a very heavy camera setup, you may need more counterweight, and of course, then the bigger sled brings you the extra 900 grams, or you may have to use two batteries.
And Martin has the next question. So
Yeah, maybe it's not a question. It's just the same
comment.
experience I had with I used now the RS 2 since 1.5 years, I think, and I have the big battery hanger for it, and I also bought the small rig, but up to now short pause. But up to now I had just one chance to use it, because normally there is so much additional stuff on the camera from the camera assist. So I always get so heavy on the camera that I need the weight, and I have the normal post normally complete together. That's the normal thing I fly with one battery, with my transvideo monitor, and that's 90% of the shots I do with it. I do just feature movies, so that's my
But that's also my
experience, what I have. So Kurt knows I use Artemis since 2003, so always the same rig. I think it's a really big difference. The Artemis 1 and 2, special the battery hanger and the motor. Everything is more stable now. If you fly on a quad, if it has really a lot of wind and a lot of influences from outside, it's much more stable. And it's really a pleasure to work with it. And I like the Amira too, because the problem is normally that's the cameras are not too small, and then we have a lot of weights in the front, and the body of the camera is much in the back. So, and then if you spin the camera, you have more problem with the wind, because you have the big box in the back and just a small lens in the front, and that's over hard to, if you shoot, because I shoot with no electronic stuff. I'm just plain operator. I had a lot of discussions with this with Kurt. He knows it, and then it helps a lot to have a camera with a weight and a size. So I like, but in my business, that's seldom I can fly with this camera. Normally, it's now the Alexa 35 and the LF Mini. That's the mostly cameras now. Thank you very much.
But that's a nice term to say. I'm a plane operator. I like this. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just call it analog, but I think plane is even nicer.
Yeah, I looking forward for a shirt with only Artemis. We have to find a slogan for it.
Yeah, we will do this. Good point. Let's work on this. I love it. Brilliant. Thank you.
That's very good. So the next question, the chat first. So
Just shortly say hello. I'm so excited to see you guys again.
Good to see you. That's so nice.
I'm a mother since 5 days.
Brilliant.
congratulations.
And I'm so happy to see you all again. Okay.
Same for us. See you. Back in business.
Cool. So the next question here from Manfred. Many congratulations on the Oscar. My question is, I see a difference in the gimbal. Why you are having an extra gimbal extender on the Steadicam with such a heavy camera? And when can we have an ARRI workshop here in India?
So the interesting problem, if you make a Steadicam so short, you can't see the monitor. That's the reason we have even to use on the Artemis Live.
So, but I think the good point, it's not a second extender, it's a longer joke.
Standard extender from the
But I think the joke is longer.
Oh, it's the same. It's the same. I got Trinity. But we learned because normally the Artemis comes without an extender.
Ah, okay.
And I couldn't see the monitor anymore because, again, once you get the monitor, it's very, very in a very high position. So the only way to be able to kind of see the monitor, we had also to use an extender on the Artemis, which normally is only used on the Trinity. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe another little detail here is a little bit hard to see. Is we have let's just put in some power. That's the C-motion pan bar. So that means now the L-bus cable goes into the sled. And here at the top, I got a C-Force Mini RF. So this is good for your focus puller. And on the other side, I got a second motor for the zoom. That means here I can control zoom now on a cine lens and a broadcast lens, which also shows how hybrid the Artemis Live is. And I really like this option that I can zoom with an external motor, even a broadcast lens, because sometimes the external motor is a bit faster than the internal motor of a broadcast zoom.
So the other question is for the Cine setups. It's mainly Alexa 35 that we're using. Thanks. I lost more little questions, but I see you at the BSA Expo. Okay.
It's fine.
That was the guy with asking the difference. what you're losing.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we can discuss forever on BSC show.
Definitely. So, other question, it's what lens is on the setup right now? That's Lura Zoom 15.5 to 45.
A very classic,
Classic.
very classic old school zoom. Yeah.
I apologize if somebody already asked, no problem. Feeding with the 24-volt B-mount battery, do we get 12 volt from the 2-pin LEMO connector? Is there down power conversion?
No, but the trick is I do exactly the same trick here. So we have a 24-volt B mount which goes into the box on the left side. On the right side, which is plug it up. On the right side, we have a 12-volt input, and I'm using this cable to get 12 volt out of the battery. That means I go D-tap into my little power management. That means on the left side, I'm using the 24 volt anyway from the battery, only for the camera and 24 volt accessories. And through the D-tap, I get a 12 volt out for
the 2-pin LEMO.
So technically, I'm making the 24 volt B motor like a hybrid Bevo, that we call a battery.
That's nice. So next question, Alex. Hey, nice to see you guys. Thank you, Alex. What do you want? So we can see that question with the window. It's too small. What does one need to add a standard Trinity tube to have a complete and ready to fly Artemis 2 Steadicam setup? Start with an upside down Artemis where we hang the Trinity battery unit.
Two approaches here. Number one is watch maybe quickly again the tech talk we did some weeks ago before Christmas. And I'm going to upload together with Leon a kind of a, let's say, part list. There you see all the components and what the components are made for. We can do this tomorrow, so you find us tomorrow kind of a PDF showing you again the parts, what they do for you, and what's the order numbers. And again, I tell this in detail in the tech talk. I'm not sure if you can understand this because sometimes even I talk a lot of bullshit, but I try hard. And I didn't sleep for 2 days. I have 2 nights. We had too much to party.
And Martin, the report says it would be nice to have this control wirelessly. That's true. I'm hoping also something like that.
You mean a Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dream on.
Or maybe the Chinese companies will believe.
Yes. But I can lock the motion store.
So I have a dream. Yes, me too.
Me too.
So how can beginners learn also Steadicams?
With an analog gimbal.
Analog gimbal, definitely.
That really, don't get me wrong. I love the Volt. It's a very good thing. But first, you should learn it as classic as possible, that you understand how much forces you need in your fingers, how to get everything in your body into smooth movement. So I would say, come to a workshop, go first classic.
And do it analog.
And do it as analog as possible, that you know, because don't forget, maybe your little electronic friend is failing, and then you have to do it the old way. Then you should be prepared to do it the old way.
So we have here also a question, how does Artemis compare to traditional Steadicam systems?
Made in Germany? No, joking. It's different because it's so short. It feels definitely different.
I think in the moment it's the other technical specs, but the reason is the Artemis is the newest rig on the market in the moment. So the M2 is 2 years old. No, Dragonfly is a little bit younger, but I have no idea if the Dragonfly has 212G. I don't think so. Or...
No. I think technically in the moment, because that's another thing which also changed my life as I joined ARRI. It didn't just make Steadicams. I had to design Steadicams which fits these cameras. And this camera's asking for 12G video. They're asking for a lot of power. Other Steadicam manufacturers don't have the specs as clear as I have, because I can't make a Steadicam which doesn't fit an ARRI camera, which is a clear call from this company, especially in video, because that's also the reason we have we have blue video cables. This is indicating that this cables can go 12G if needed. And we have built in L-bus. We have built in another COM bus thing, which also means if you combine these two data lines, we have 8-line Ethernet communication inside this Steadicams, also in the Trinity, which means in the Trinity, we're using Ethernet communication inside to control the head. And on an Artemis, in the moment, I'm using the Ethernet communication to zoom, because again, watch the cable goes into the sled, not into the top. And also in the future, you can use, one day when this products are ready, we can use the Ethernet communication to have a tiny tracker on top of the camera. And let's say the tracker computer could be at the bottom as a counterweight. And we can offer this Ethernet communication for this kind of tracking systems. Because again, my concept in all the designs is every weight I can take away from the camera and I can use it on the other hand as a counterweight is better for the operating, because the overall weight of your rig goes down. I don't have to carry extra counterweight because I'm using the weight as counterweight. And that's the reason we have Ethernet communication already standby for future use cases, which also comes back to the very first question. That's the reason we don't have to update another Artemis, because this technology in this rig is definitely future-proof for the next 10 years, easily.
So the next question
is when you make another Artemis.
No.
No.
What's the next on the agenda for Trinity Stabilizer World?
Holidays. Long holidays. I'm not sure, because first of all, we did something. I think the next for all of us is waiting that the business is picking up. And the business then will tell us how this business is changing, because it will be for sure different after the crisis than before the crisis. And then you're going to call us and say, I need whatever. And we're going to make it. But first of all, we have to wait that the business comes back. And then the challenges comes back. And
so I think that's also the answer for the next question. Does ARRI have any plans on releasing a newer model of the Trinity?
No.
Not live in the next 2 to 3 years. So the question is, we could get this question 10 times from 10 different people.
No, for
But
sure.
it's also interesting for me. So
No, it's interesting for me. No, for sure not. It's very simple, because don't forget, Trinity was born while Corona. We designed everything in Corona, which was
the Trinity 2.
Trinity 2, yeah. So this was a kind of, anyway, very special experience. Also, we shared fully masked, and it was a nightmare. Then we launched the Trinity, and we had like 2 years, and everything started growing. And suddenly we ended up in this very strange situation now. And I think because of this, we need another 3 years just to recover from the last 2 years. So I will not put any gear into this process, because first of all, we all have to settle down again and reorganize our lives. And also, honestly, also we think that the Trinity, the only thing we change, but this is again is an ongoing process. We will work on the software, we will improve the software, we will make sure we get rid of mistakes we did even in the software, and we will work on brackets, because the only project which is always ongoing is to make Artemis and Trinity set up faster and faster and faster. Because one thing we already learned since the crisis, that the prep day doesn't exist anymore.
Mostly, yes.
And that means we have to find ways, and we did find ways, thanks to the skater, to make sure that even a Trinity can be balanced on set nearly as fast as a good old Steadicam. And this is the product we're focusing on, is to improve and to shorten your setup times, to improve your integration into complex sets, because I think some of the sets, because of tracking, will become more and more complex. So something we work on is to produce more metadata. But again, this is everything around your workflow, around your rig, but the rigs itself are stable, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Or, so let's see. No, don't worry. Joking.
Please, no.
No, we just make it, whatever. But there's always something like that. But not a Trinity. It's going to be a submarine this time.
So what size batteries are ideal counterweight for Artemis 2 between the B155 Cena and B90 Cena? Depending on the setup. So I personally prefer. So I using the V-mount V-Box 155s. So that's my personal choice. The reason is also in Europe, the most of the rentals I have always the same batteries. So it's always good to have the same ones. And I find on Trinity using two of 150s, two 55s, and on the Artemis mostly one 155.
Or if you go with if you, let's say, you stay with Bebop and you do, let's say, live television, you can also go for the 90 hot swap, plus the 90 at the back, which is wide-wise very attractive. Also, Swit is offering this. There's also hot swap, which is a little less power, but a bit more weight. And again, I would go then also for 90-watt battery. But again, the idea is what also Leon says, in the end, for a, let's say, a regular Steadicam setup is to have a single battery solution, even if it's a hot swap thing, but technically it's still one battery in the end.
So yes, you can contact us for information and to learn more about Steadicam. Just contact in the chat and we will stay in touch so you will get some infos. Has any of you tested the MQV level? If so, what are your opinions? World killer? Yes and no. So I've tested it on the ARRI Artemis here in Munich, but it was an early prototype. But to be honest, I think they are not shipping it yet. So they have promised to ship it by end of the year, but I think in the moment it's not shipping. It's working really good. So I think it's only 7 degrees of level, of horizon level. What's enough for a normal Steadicam operator. So for me also, for the wave is for me too much. So I don't need this 25 degrees, although what you can have there, something like that. So that's really nice. But what I'm wondering, I don't think that the MQV level works in low mode, technically. So it's nothing yet that can hold the whole weight of the setup. So I don't know. That's my opinion. But it's a really interesting tool, definitely. It's really light, it's really flat. So let's see. Sorry,
joking.
So Nico, the next challenge is to make the 23 3 or 5 kgs lighter. Maybe.
It's technology.
It's a lightweight upgrade for the 22.
The issue is, your request put an injury into dilemma. If you say, look, I want to have a roll axis which is faster than the other roll axis from the other company, that means you have to have a very rigid housing. And in the moment something gets very rigid, it certainly becomes a bit more heavy. And the other thing is, if you ask for so much amps, you need something like the battery hanger to be able to provide this. And so some of the features, sadly, always adding some weight. You can always make things lighter here, because that's the thing about the Artemis Live. We just said, look, we take away all these features and you still are happy. That means if you allow us to take away features, we may be able to get away kilograms, or we go into 3D printing.
Metal printing, yeah.
Yeah, but sadly, I don't have this machine yet. It's a bit expensive, but one day we will have it, because I would love to go into printing, sure. Because that's the only way to design structures which have the same, to be as rigid with less weight. Let's see. But again, we promised a minute ago we don't make a new Trinity immediately, so be fair. Again, let's first see what the business is doing for us, and then we can see what we can do for your business.
So one question from Christopher from Hong Kong. Hi, Christopher. Long time no see, Curt and Liam. That's true.
True. Let's see.
So, but you have posted a video from the Volt post with Mark, but not here. My question is, why the Volt post need to have this hard stop and that limit or gimbal position? I always feel don't have enough gimbal space.
Yeah, it's also a tricky one. And the reason why you have this little, I don't know how to say this in English, extra diameter is below the diameter, there is the fine trim mechanism. So the only way to get rid of this means to get rid of the fine trim. Again, by reducing a feature.
Compromise, okay.
It's a compromise. The other reason why it's there, we talked to the manufacturer of the carbon fiber, because it looks like we just take a regular post and machine it down. This is not the case. This is a very, very special made carbon fiber tube, which is in total have 5 different diameters inside and outside. Even the rolled post is thicker. The width of the walls is thicker than the standard Artemis post because it's less diameter. We made it even more rigid because, again, less diameter. We're adding more wall thickness to get it stiff. And this is also one of the reasons why then this little thing happened. But if you tell us you don't need a fine trim, we can also say, okay, then we make it straight. There's no mechanism.
Okay, that's
And
good
you
to
have
know.
to balance the very old way.
So that's possible.
Of course, it's possible. It takes a while to make it. But again, you can always get something if you take something away. But we can't make a fine trim without this little extra belly, let's call it.
But it means you can make a shorty wall post without a trim.
Theoretically, yes, it takes a while.
That will be still.
Again, we have to redesign the entire clamp. This will not happen from one day to the other. But if you give me an idea, we can sell some of this, we can look into this. But again, the idea is also, don't get me wrong, why I didn't do it from scratch. The fine trim allows you to compensate when someone's adding filters or whatever, which means you can keep the gimbal at the position you found in the morning while you did your first setup. Because we came from this. In the old days, I made a lovely Steadicam setup, and then the sound guy showing up first to say, "Oh, sorry, I forgot the filters," and the other guy forgot the audio. And suddenly, my more or less very precise setup was done. It was just vanished away. And that's the reason why we put the fine trim into the post. I said, look, I can keep my gimbal at the position I knew it's exactly where it should be. And whatever comes, I can compensate with the fine trim. But if you say you don't need these little things, then we can have a deeper look into a solution without.
Well, the next one is from Henrik Hansbury. So thank you for your answer. I have another one. So I have a new operator and I'm trying to make my sled as heavy as possible. Think about powering the camera with the battery on top and use batteries on the bottom purely as weights. Monitor will have batteries attached as well. Is this the way I want to need a cable? What are your opinions on this idea? It's depending on you as operator, I think. So I personally like also to work with the battery on the camera. So the same reason what Martin told when you have a Alexa Mini with the quick anamorphic lights, it's extremely front heavy. So that's the reason why I prefer to have the battery on the back. So I have a little bit more longer and more better weight distribution. So it's depending on you and how you like to operate. And yes, I was also an operator in the beginning. I was loving heavy setups. So this give you more stability and more, I don't know, but time's changing. So
because with age, you feel your hip joints and the back a bit.
So now I'm preferring lighter setups, but I'm operating also the 22, so it's...
No, there's another, it's a tricky point. Because, of course, if your camera setup is too short, you won't get a good balance. So you have to put something at the back of the camera. That's very, very true. But what I would try to do, honestly, not to use this battery, because then you don't have to change this. Because don't forget, batteries are not the same. This is what we learned through the new skater balance method. We learned that even if the batteries look the same, the weight distribution inside the battery is slightly different. And some of the battery is even crazy different. Even if it's the same battery from the same manufacturer, there are differences. That means when you change the battery on the camera side, you may accidentally change the entire balance. Yeah. And then you start a kind of again playing around, and you're losing more and more of your first balance. It becomes more vague in the end. And when your balance becomes more vague, you start thinking about the balance, which is not a good idea, because your job as a camera operator is to think about telling the story and to frame, and you should more focus on what you're shooting than what you're carrying around.
So the next one is from David Doherty. So is there any reduction in payload with the vault post, or it's the same as the standard post? Which same?
That's full shot. So, again, as I said before, theoretically, the vault post is even more rigid than our standard post.
So another question from Chris. Understand, it means if I don't need the fine-tuning function, I can choose to order without.
Yeah, we don't have it yet, so don't order it. It doesn't exist. We have to make it. We have it in. We have on the road list. It will take a while. I have to double check how we can get there.
So from Henry, thank you for your explanation, and I look forward to meeting. Thank you. We'll see you there. So, okay, I have also here two questions from the registrations. So the one is with the 1224 volt lock. It's possible to use 2 batteries on the sled in order to get a longer runtime while powering a 12-volt camera safely with the 12-volt cable.
I'm not sure if I got the question. Can this person talk to us and explain again? Because you wrote this question before, and we're not still sure if my Germanski English is good enough to fully cover this.
So repeating here again. So with the 12-volt, 24-volt lock, is it possible to use 2 batteries on the sled in order to get a longer runtime while powering a 12-volt camera safely with a 12-volt cable?
Because
it's the person there.
Because honestly, if you're not there, then it's going to be a little bit funny. Because if I get it right, then the question is, why should I use a 24-volt power supply if I only have a 12-volt camera? And if I want to get more runtime out of a 12-volt camera, you can use the 12-volt hot swap power management. That means you can run 2 batteries, they're hot swapped, and this would be a way to max out the runtime of the camera, because most of the time the runtime is not connected to the power cables. It's more connected to how good or bad the batteries are.
Well, I think we have all questions in the chat and also on the registration form. So if you guys have any other questions. So I think we are.
Because maybe I have just one question or one explanation again. The big difference between a hot swap here and the hot swap in this device is, on the Artemis Live, we're using the same way to manage a battery like we did on any old Steadicams. Technically, we just put 2 batteries together, and we're not using a diode. All the other manufacturers using a classic diode to make sure the batteries are not charging or discharging each other. We do something like this, but we don't use a diode. We use, again, a little computer who's really measuring and managing the batteries, but not as clever as this device does, because this device is only hot swapping 2 batteries if the charging level of the both involved batteries are exactly the same. That means if you take on the bigger battery module, let's say one battery which is 100% charged and the other battery is only 92% charged, and first we take the 100% battery down to 92, and then they are hot swapped together. And again, even here it's a bit more funny. We're not just put them together like on the other Steadicams that there's a connector and they gunk together. Now what we do is we're jumping ping pong. In a thousandth of a second, we're jumping in between the both batteries, which also is a part of, you will see the batteries will never get hot because technically one is running cool while the other is cooling down. And this we do all the time. So even our hot swap is so fast by just jumping from one side to the other battery. And that's also the reason why we then, when they are on the same level, they go precisely down to 0, exactly the same way. While this kind of hot swap, or like in any other Steadicam, is kind of not sure which battery is better, and they just put them together, and then the runtime is for sure longer with this
Absolutely. Yeah.
than with this.
Yeah.
This is very good, but this is better because there's a lot of intelligence inside. And of course, this battery hanger can really talk to the metadata from the batteries. Of course, here it doesn't. And that's the reason why this is just 4,000 euros in between. Because here we do it more traditional, but we're using still a computer to manage this much more cleverly than other classic rigs which using a diode. Because don't forget, a diode itself takes up to 1 amp.
Yep.
And here, our battery management is only 0.3 amps.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Well, it's awesome. But again, it's a little longer runtime with this technology we're using here than other.
Yeah, you
plastic
feel it
solutions.
definitely software this. When you're using your same batteries with all the systems, so I use my same batteries on 21 and go to 22, and the same batteries have a 30%, 35% more runtime than on 21. That's amazing. That's very cool.
That isn't, but this is why metadata is always quite interesting. And lithium-ion batteries producing a lot of metadata. And it's quite fun to read them out.
Interesting. So
what else? Because honestly, I'm getting a bit hungry now.
I think we are on that, definitely.
Okay.
So thank you, Curt.
Thank you. And okay, the next session we have to put together is the Trinity SCADA balance.
Life balancing battle.
Battle, you know.
Why
And,
not? So, and thank you guys for watching the first Q&A here on the CSS forum. So we'll be happy if you join the next Q&As. So they are on the February 4th with Rocket Stabilizer, a new company here from Germany, representing the new Apollo arm. It's really interesting. So I have tested it also. It's amazing arm. It's really interesting. And also Flow Scene on February 6th with XARM Neo and XARM Neo Air. So, and some smart systems on February 10th with also with the new arms and the new monitor and the new Horizon. So I will be happy if you see there. So thank you.
And also as a little side effect, also we're going to have the Apollo arm with us at BSC show. We have the smart system arms with us. We have the monitor with us. So again, you see, we are pretty open-minded to have everything you like to have on your set. We have it on the booth. So come to London, spend a shitload of money to get there and to stay there, but you should come.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.